Hello Northside staff. In this video, I'm going to run you through the process of creating an assessment task on SEQTA. SEQTA gives us lots of great features for communicating information about assessments to students, but it can be a little bit confusing. So in this video, I hope to make it really clear and simple so that you can follow along to create your own assessment tasks on SEQTA. So I've just gone into the teaching workspace and timetable to see a list of all my classes, and I want one for English, and I'll click this book icon to find the program for English, which is where all the information for this course is stored on SEQTA. Brings me here, and at the bottom of this list that's appeared, it says Overview of Assessments. That's where I go to make a new assessment task. You can see I've already got quite a few, and I want to make a new one. So this blue circle with the plus is how we make a new assessment task. I'll click on that, and here we are. As usual, I like to work from the top down. So we've got a new assessment task created here, and I can work from the top down. So first of all, I need to give it a title. It should be descriptive. I'm going to call this Persuasive Techniques. Oh, persuasive, can't spell, that's embarrassing. Techniques analysis. I need to put it into an assessment group. A formative assessment won't appear on reports, and that's not something I'm using much at this point. And then I need to choose, will it be on a semester 1 report or a semester 2 report? In my particular case, it goes on the semester 2 report. So choose the appropriate option there, thinking about reports. And the next thing is the marking type. At Northside, we use grades. Marks would be numerical, while grades are the sort of descriptive levels of performance that we use, excelling, mastering, and so on. Okay, so I've got everything set up in that top bit. I'm actually going to save before I forget. I like to hit save regularly, and actually some of the options don't pop up. I'm not sure if you saw it just appeared down here, this point about reports. Didn't show until I hit save. So if something's missing, make sure you've hit save. Okay, I'm going to keep working down. Now, criteria work in a bit of a funny way in SEQTA. It works really well. It's just possibly a new way of thinking, where each criterion listed here is actually a collection of criteria. Let me demonstrate what I mean by that. So my first one I'm going to say is about argument analysis. So this is sort of a broad heading for a set of criteria. And I'm going to have a second criterion group that will be just written expression. So you can see that each of these criteria I've created, I've got 1 and 2, and I've given them a overall heading. And each one can have its own rubric. So that's what I mean, that each one of these can actually have multiple lines of rubric under them. And so they become sort of a collection of criteria. They can, but what's really important is each one can be aligned to an outcome or to the syllabus. So when I click on this little down arrow, and you should see for your own subjects, the Australian curriculum or the VCE study design things or whatever syllabus has been set for your course should be available here. So this first criterion, argument analysis, actually relates to receptive modes, listening, reading, and viewing, because it's about how the students read and interpret the argument that they're looking at. And then this written expression one relates to a different achievement standard, which is productive modes, writing. So that's why I've separated it into these two different criteria collections, criteria groups, is because I want to align each one to a different achievement standard. Now I can have multiple criteria under this heading of argument analysis, which is what I will do through the rubric. I'll have several lines, but they all attach to this one outcome or one syllabus item. Whereas this second one will just have one thing. I'm just going to have a single line rubric for that one. So without further ado, let's create that rubric. I'll hit save again because I'm pretty happy with it so far. And then where it says no rubric here, I'll click on that and it will bring up the rubric editor. Now, I always click grades based and I always click fixed. Grades based because, like I said before, we don't have numeric grades. We've got sort of criteria headings, I guess. And fixed makes it in nice rows when I create the rubric. I create a rubric line, add rubric line. I don't need to put anything in it just yet. And when I press, so it was add rubric line here to add one line of the rubric. And then when I press plus up here, it comes up with a grade ND is not demonstrated. Click plus again, not able to be assessed. I'll actually change this one, and it doesn't really matter, but the fewer details, the better, I think. So I'm actually going to change that one. I'm going to skip not able to be assessed and make it not yet achieving, NYA. And now when I press plus, it'll keep going up from there. Approaching, achieving, mastering, and the last one didn't show on the screen is excelling. Up here, there's a little square, the full screen icon. If I click that, I get much more room. And now you can see all of those in one go. So having done that once, got not demonstrated, not yet achieving, approaching, achieving, mastering, excelling. I'm pretty happy with that. I can press plus as many times as I want to make more rubric lines that work down here. Now, I won't be able to save this rubric just yet because I haven't put in the necessary detail. So I need to name each rubric line, and I need to have something in the descriptor for each one. Now, I've written this rubric previously. You could just type it straight into here. I've actually created this in Schoology already. Here's my rubric. And so I'm going to copy and paste from here. One thing to note though is that if you are copying from Schoology or if you've made it in Word or whatever, to make sure you get the direction right. So this one goes from excelling down, whereas this one goes from not demonstrated up. So I need to make sure I get it in the right order. So just going back to Schoology here, I'll copy that, Control C to copy, back over to here. That was the line label, Control V to paste, and that is now pasted in there. Next one over, I've got excelling. I'll copy that. I'm not going to bother with the word excelling there because you can see it's already got the code EXC there. So I'll just paste in the actual descriptor. I might pause for a moment and paste all that in and let you see what it looks like when I'm done. And we're back and it's magically done. Now, I want to point out a few things before I move on from this step. One is that I haven't filled in every single column. You're welcome to do that, of course, but I find that trying to put in a clear descriptor of a level of performance for every single column can be challenging, and I like to leave a little bit of, I guess, gray area. So the convention then, because you do need to put something in each column, is just to use the level of performance heading there. So I've just written mastering in full to indicate that mastering is between this descriptor for achieving and this descriptor for excelling. But I do need to have information in each of the, whatever that said, whatever it said originally there, line description or whatever. No, that says line description, the criteria heading, and I do need something in each of these boxes as well. You can also put additional detail in the line description, so feel free to put in additional detail and notes in there, and they'll show up neatly. So I'm happy with that one, so I will press OK. If I've got any blanks or there's anything wrong with it, it won't let me save, but when I press OK, it let me save. That's great. There it is, 3 lines, and now attached to receptive modes, listening, reading, and viewing for English under the heading argument analysis. So that's great. I'm going to hit save because I don't want to lose all that work. I'm going to do that again now for written expression, and I'm just going to point out one different thing. So when I go here, rubric, and it says no rubric, I will again go grades based, and I will again go fixed because I think that's neater. I can click this library icon. Let me make it full screen again, and hit this library icon, and it brings up a library of of rubrics written by the entire SEQTA community, not just our school, but anyone who's allowed to publish stuff on SEQTA. So you can see there's loads here. I don't want other people's though, I want my own. So here it says search library. If I type in NCC, let's see if I just type in that. Mr. Simmons made one already. Mr. Simmons has made heaps. Okay, well, then I need to narrow it down a bit more. And I'm going to add my initials, CG. And here we go. I've made a default rubric, so you can save a bunch of copying and pasting by using this one. You can also hit the love heart icon, so it'll be favorited and you'll be able to find it more easily. So if you want, you can just grab this, press the plus, and let's close the library. And there it is. It's brought in a sort of filled in rubric with all the levels with those keywords already pasted in, just to save you a bit of time. The only thing is, unfortunately, it starts with NAA instead of not demonstrated. You can see I've written not demonstrated there. NAA is not able to be assessed, and usually we don't need that on the actual rubric. So you do need to just quickly go through and change all of those. Now, I actually only want a one-line rubric, so I can press the X here to delete all these ones that I don't need. Because like I said, I only want one line for this criterion. And this one, I think, was written expression. Yep, that's what I had. So I'll grab that, copy it, and over here, paste. And on I go, getting the description for excelling, pasting it over here, and so on and so forth. Actually, I'm so nearly done. I'm going to finish that, and you can all watch me. Lucky you. Paste that one in, and last one, not yet achieving, copy, Control C, and not yet achieving, paste, Control V. All right, that one's done. I've deleted all the rows I don't need, and I can hit OK to save it. Okay, so now you see the sort of structure of it. So I've got 3 criteria under the heading argument analysis attached to receptive modes. I've got 1 criterion under the heading written expression attached to productive modes writing. So I'm now done with that. Okay, that was a big step. Press save. Certainly creating the rubrics is always the biggest steps, I think, for creating assessments, and particularly through the SEQTA system. But what that means is now when we mark it, we can group the students' performance by these different achievement standards or outcomes, and that's what gets fed through to reports. So it's very handy once it's set up. Moving down, we can choose how much to release about this assessment task. While you're working on it, you want to keep it assessment hidden. Maybe even at the very start of the year, you could create your assessment task with the name, choose the group, the marking type, and give them a due date down here. This particular one is due next Thursday. And you could say, all right, I'm ready. I haven't created the rubric. I don't have all the details, but I've given it a name and I've given it a due date. So I'm going to say date and title released. And then students and parents can see that. And you could do that, potentially right at the start of the year. Once you've got your unit outline done, you could do that. The next step, once you're happy with it and you're sure you're locking it in, you can say all details released, which means the rubrics released and some other details that we can put in underneath here. And then once you're done marking it, you skip this step and go straight to marks released. So once the students have submitted and you've assessed, you jump across to marks released, but that's for another day. I'm going to keep it hidden for now because I'm not done. I'm going to save again because I can't remember what I've done. I think I just set the due date. I'm going to skip most of the details here, except to say that there's some really great stuff to play with. You can get students to write reflections or their expectations of how they think they'll go on the assessment task, and then a reflection afterwards about how they actually went. You can change whether the students can submit on SEQTA or whether you want them to submit elsewhere. I usually leave that off. If you are letting them submit on SEQTA, I would say allow submission after the due date, and I'd change this up to 180 days because if they haven't submitted by the due date, well, I still want it eventually, and I'll be chasing them down. I'm not going to say, oh no, you missed it, now you don't have to submit it. We don't work that way. So 180 days would be the whole semester, and so I would always turn that up. But yeah, I don't want them to submit this one through SEQTA anyway. This will be available on reports. I do want this task, the continuous reporting data, to feed through to reports. So I will say this is available on reports. Another handy feature, you can get a checklist of things they need to do. You know, there's 6 steps to complete this assessment task. You can give them a little checklist there. You can attach a forum to it so that they can have discussions between each other and you through SEQTA, so that's really handy. You can upload resources, like if you've got a printed sheet that has the details of the assessment task, you could also upload it here for students to access. And you've also got this rich text field where you can put in the details of assessment tasks. So if I go back to Schoology, I'm just going to grab all this, Control C, and I'm going to paste that straight in here and hope that it looks okay. Looks fine. And now that information is on SEQTA as well, because I actually will keep using Schoology for the purposes of this assignment. But now the students can access that information on SEQTA, parents can see it on SEQTA, as well as having it on Schoology. Okay, that is done. I can hit save. That was a bit of an epic unpacking of how to create assessments on SEQTA, but hopefully it was clear, and hopefully now you can review this video and work through sequentially, and hopefully after you've done it once or twice you won't need to look at this video at all, because it will become more or less self-explanatory. Happy assessing!